Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome, everybody, into the Hump Day Hotline on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe. My name
Hump
is
Day.
Joe Prince the King, asking you, demanding you, shouting it out. Please hump on that like we say here on Wednesdays. Hump the like. Please do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe. My name is Joe Miller, as I already said. You can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. I think I may have said that too. You can find that guy, Jay Spence the King, over on Twitter at JST. Is that right? JSTK?
No, it's not available. I got to switch this back. I got to go back.
Well, tell them where to find you before I continue.
At Jay Spence the King.
Making sure. You can find my man at Jay Spence the King on Twitter. Please follow him. He's a great follow. I follow him and interact with him all the time, which probably makes sense to most of you. But it is so good to have every single one of you guys joining us. The Buffalo Bills, Jay Spence the King, are 5-2.
5-2.
5-2. It's funny because we they went 3-0, which surprised us, I think, right? And then they looked like absolute donkey crap for 2 weeks, which surprised us. And then they've come out of that and looked pretty good the last two. Well, outside of a quarter and a half in the last game. But I think what it boils down to is there's just been a lot of surprises from this football team this year. What say you?
Yeah, no, you know what? I think the most surprising thing for me, which is something that I'm sure all of Bills Mafia is talking about right now, is Josh Allen with the lack of turnovers. You know,
yes,
for his entire career,
Yep.
We're used to the conversation or the narrative outside of Buffalo being that Josh is sugar high Josh, or Josh, he's out of control and all this stuff. It's not. Now, there's been a couple passes that, if defensive backs were really receivers, they should have been intercepted. There's a couple out there, but for the most part, I think Josh is making better decisions. And again, I know we're talking about it in Buffalo, but I don't think it can be understated. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a big deal to talk about just how in control he seems, even though I think, and we're going to talk about it, I think, the offense this year with all the surprises, this isn't the offense you would expect him to be as efficient with. At least to me, you would think he would force more because guys aren't getting open, but I don't know.
Yeah, in his presser today, he talked a little bit about it. I loved his frame of mind on it, which is effectively, to paraphrase, I'm going to throw interceptions, and sometimes I'm going to throw the ball that should be intercepted and it won't be, and other times I'm going to throw the ball it shouldn't be intercepted and it is. I think that's the right frame of mind for a quarterback. We've seen even in Bills lore, Bills history, Trent Edwards, for instance, who threw a bunch of interceptions in like a half and was never the same because he was afraid to throw picks. I mean, you just can't live in that mindset of being afraid to throw an interception. Tyrod Taylor, spent his whole entire career being overly safe with the football versus, bro, you are amazingly talented. Go out there and play football and don't care. Just don't do your thing. I almost wonder sometimes if he'd had a strikingly different career if he just went out there and Jeff Georged it once in a while. It's like, I'm just going to rip the Baker Mayfield at it once in a while. I'm just going to rip the football over the field and see what happens, which sometimes can be good, sometimes can be bad. We have a super chat from our guy, the Pullout King. It's good to see you, but he says my favorite duo on the tube of you, go Bills. Yes, my man. Did I ever tell you that I met him? I met him in Tampa for the Tampa game a couple years back. So we got to chat it up a little bit, but appreciate the super chat, my friend. But so the title of this show is basically NFL wide receiver movement. Just and it's based around Hopkins to the Chiefs. For those of you that have not heard, and the graphic effectively depicts. I feel like I have to explain this. The Jets make a move for Devante Adams. Then correspondingly, the Bills make a move for Amari Cooper immediately afterwards, which I cannot be convinced that those two moves were not necessarily tied. Meaning, Brandon Beane had told the Raiders, look, we're in on Devante Adams and we'll continue to negotiate and discuss. And if you move him, let us know. And I think they had a backdoor agreement with the Browns. This is where we're at. And if something happens there, we're all in with you. And I think that's what I feel happened. It doesn't mean it did, but it just seemed to happen too close. But anyways, all of that to say this, those two then, in my opinion, have prompted the Chiefs to be like, well, we need to get better as well, specifically with Rashee Rice being out for the rest of the season. So 1 + 1 = 2. Devante Adams movement plus Amari Cooper movement equals DeAndre Hopkins. Now, here's the thing. First of all, is that deal done? It's just being heavily negotiated, right? Like there's intention there, but there's no.
I saw that it was complete. I thought I saw that the deal was actually done. The Titans are going to take on half of Hopkins' salary, and it's a 5th round draft pick conditionally as a 4th. So that's the terms that I saw out there, and it looks like it was completed. But who knows? You know how these, you know how it goes.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up because I've been buried trying to catch up from traveling for work. I'm looking for the first like verified like Chef D
Yeah,
report.
I saw Ian tweeted, and I thought he said that it was completed. So,
well, if somebody in the comment section has the negotiate or has the deal, Sarah's actually in the room. She probably does know this. She's usually up to speed on all this stuff. If anybody's got the actual deal as far as what it was, please let us know real quick. But where does this fit for you? So I'm on record on Twitter already, just basically saying that this doesn't overly move the needle for me. There's not a whole lot in. I didn't wake up, hear this news, and be like, oh my god. This isn't the player that if the Chiefs had gotten, I'd be losing. If they had gotten Devante Adams, I'd have been like, you've got to be kidding me. If they had gotten Cooper Kupp, I'd have been like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, there's players out there that to me very much make me concerned. But DeAndre Hopkins, where he is now at this stage of his career, and what I know he had 1,000 yards last season, but with what I've seen on film, or Good Morning Football today is running highlights of him this year beating linebackers, and they're like, oh, this means a lot for the Chiefs. It's like, is he going to get lined up against a linebacker, or is he going to be lined up against the best corner on every defense? For me, is he good? Yes. Can he make a difference? Yes. Is he going to be much more involved or much more strikingly available than Juju? I don't think so. I'll let you have a thought and then we can talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand why everybody who has that same opinion that you do would have it. When you look at the last year and a half or 2 seasons of DeAndre Hopkins, you look at just a lack of production compared to what we remember from Houston,
right?
Or even like his first 2 seasons in Arizona. But
right,
the difference is, I tend to take up a lot for Hopkins, and I think it's partially because, with him being on the Cardinals, I got to see him every week, season tickets, and I'm there. And the thing is, when I watched the games, I remember Kyler Murray tore his ACL. So DeAndre Hopkins finished out the year with, Tracy McSorley and with, I think Colt McCoy, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
And then he started the next year with, what's the guy that ended up being traded to Minnesota, and he came from Pittsburgh. I could see his face and I can't think of his name. Anyhow,
not Dobbs. Was it Dobbs?
Dobbs. He started the year off with Dobbs before Kyler came back, and then actually they traded Hopkins. That's when the whole thing happened. So he didn't even get healthy Kyler because they traded him, and they knew that they were going to do the Harrison thing. So I say all that to say, then he comes to Tennessee, and now everybody thinks from what we saw that early part of the year last season that Levis was going to be like, okay, this guy, he's going to be pretty talented. He's making some plays. He completely regressed from even what he was then. So I just think that the quarterback play that he's had just hasn't been good, but he's been able to get open. He still has, if not the best hands in the league, second best. Like, I understand that he may have lost a step. He's not quick and all that stuff, but he's a very good wide receiver. And I would caution people into overlooking this. And the only reason why is because you still have Travis Kelce out there. You still have Worthy out there. So even though Hopkins might not go there and be Hopkins of old, he can still come in and he can make some things happen and open up the offense for a lot of things. Like right now, the Chiefs almost look like the Bills looked a couple weeks ago, whereas nobody could get open. And there's a play that happened this past Sunday where the play that Coop scored on, nobody was open except for Cooper. And I think that's one of the things that you're going to be able to see now in Kansas City when you added DeAndre Hopkins to this offense. You're going to be able to see where Mahomes has certain passes that aren't available right now. Now those passes are available. So no, he might not go off every week for 150 and 2 touchdowns, but damn it, look, he catches the ball when it comes his way, and Mahomes is accurate.
But I'm still in the camp of when you look at the first, and clearly week 1 Jets, Aaron Rodgers, Devante Adams is not definitive and indicative of what we're going to get for the rest of the season. Those two are going to find their groove and they're going to come to life, and it's going to make similar scenario to what you just said. And with Amari Cooper, it's going to make the rest of that squad including Garrett Wilson, better. And Lazard, right? Lazard is going to benefit more. They talked about it on the broadcast. Lazard went from being a number 2 to a number 3, which puts him on linebackers specifically most of the time. I just when I view the landscape of this trade included, I still feel like the Bills made out with the best situation with Amari Cooper, because even when I look at DeAndre Hopkins, and everything you said about DeAndre is completely true. I'm not going to negate or refute. I'm not. I said in my tweet that I think I said he's cooked or washed or something like that. And what I meant by that was he's not the DeAndre Hopkins of old. This is his 11th season. He's been around a bit. He's had a lot of activity and a lot of action throughout his career. He is more than likely a Hall of Fame wide receiver, right? I mean, he's on the teeter of the totter as far as it could go one way or the other. He's got a ton. I've got his stats up. I probably should read him. He's got a ton of 1,000-yard seasons. What are we talking about here? 802 his rookie year, 12, 10, 15, 21, 954, 1378. I mean, it's ridiculous. He's got 12,000 total yards, like 1,500, 1,100, 1,400, then 2 down years, and then 1,000 last year. I mean, you could make a case or an argument that he's going to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. My point is just this, and I think you said it at the end, which was he's not going to go for a $130 or $150 every game. I don't see a space where Travis Kelce, who I have on 2 fantasy teams, and DeAndre Hopkins even puts Pat Mahomes in a space relatively close to where Josh Allen's playing right now. I mean, Mahomes is what? He's got 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. They're winning football games on the ground and due to their defense. I don't find that at the addition of DeAndre Hopkins all of a sudden turns them back into an all-world offense. I think they're winning football games the way that they have to win them right now, and it's working. But I don't see this as like the pivot point of, that offense just came to life because DeAndre Hopkins is here.
That's fair. I mean, that's completely fair. I guess the way I see it is that they don't have to blow guys out the park anymore. Like, so even if they're winning games the way they're winning them now, now what you do is you have a receiver that it takes a little bit of pressure off the run game when, it takes a little bit of pressure off the defense. Now, you got a guy that it's kind of like what Coop is now. You got a guy that when you need a play, you got a guy that can make it outside of Travis Kelce. So teams can't double team Travis Kelce. And I just think when you look at what Hop is and when you look at, I agree with you, Mahomes is not playing well this season, but we also know who Mahomes is. And just because the first 6 weeks or 7 weeks of the season didn't look like what we're used to out of Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't mean that he can't flip. Like last season, he didn't look like Patrick Mahomes all freaking season. Like they looked terrible on offense and the defense was one of the best in the league. Then hit the playoffs and all of a sudden he's outscoring the damn, like everybody, like the offense wakes up and all of a sudden they look great. So I would just caution people to say like, oh, well, this season he's terrible. Okay, you're right. He hasn't played well.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't write these guys off, especially with that head coach, man. I think he's gonna really get DeAndre Hopkins into a position where he can be the best offensive weapon that he is right now.
I would agree. We thought the same thing about Kadarius Toney, right? We thought that if there's any coach that can make this kid like be the guy, it's Andy Reid. And I don't disagree. Like I'm the first guy that's going to tell you that we keep losing to the Chiefs in the playoffs because of the coaches, right? They have the better coach. Period. End of story. He outcoaches Sean McDermott every time. But even at the benchmark of 1,000 yards, and I see it's getting conversed about, or people are having conversations about the 1,000 yards, and he had 1,000 last year. Let's keep in mind it's a 17-game schedule. That's 58 yards a game. I mean, sure, 58 yards a game is great, I guess, but it's kind of sleepy, and I don't know that it's like we are winning football games because of 58 yards a game.
We can't minimize that. Like, we don't have a guy right now averaging 58 yards. Like, we gotta, like, I understand the point that you're making.
I think we do. I'd have to look. I got to do homework.
I'm just saying, like, I understand, because
you might be right. You might be right.
Like, I understood everybody's points, everybody I get it. Like, but like sometimes I just can't join the conversation when like all of a sudden we act like dudes aren't who they are. Like, because a couple of weeks ago, like I remember when Adams got traded to the Jets, and they're like, well, he's not that good anyway. No, he was in Vegas. Like, it's just
we're not having conversation that Devante Adams has lost a step. You just said that whatchamacallit, DeAndre Hopkins has lost a little bit of a step.
No, I was saying he may have, like, because that's how everybody's talking. I don't think that he has. I think that when you have Will Levis throwing you the football, and I think, like I mentioned, Tracy McSorley before that, and Colt McCoy, you're without a starting, like an elite quarterback. You're going to not even arguably. I know everybody wants to put, Josh there now, and I know everybody now this year, Lamar is playing lights out, and it's almost like you can't deny him this year. But I still think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. So when
Sure.
you take a guy who's been all pro, you take a guy who he like you just he just had 1,000 yards last year with like a horrible situation at quarterback, and now you put him on a team that has a direct need for what he brings. I just don't see it being as like, nah, I don't see it that way. I see it being literally what Amari Cooper is for the Buffalo Bills. I think he was an exact need for what the Buffalo Bills needed, and you saw it. You saw a touchdown happen because of it Sunday.
Yeah, Devante Adams a Jet next year.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he and Rodgers one more year.
Amari Cooper a Bill next year.
No,
and Hopkins Chief next year.
If he doesn't retire, yes.
Interesting. Got another super chat from Carl Tomlin. Carl, appreciate you more than you know. After getting Amari, I have heard people saying now the Bills need to go get someone else. I disagree with this. Do you guys agree? Well, there's the answer. Or there's the question. They are getting Von Miller back. It's not next week. It's not this week. It's next week, if I'm not mistaken. Right. This is week 4. And Matt Milano in December, fingers crossed. 2 great players. So Carl is just asking what we think about the Bills' need to go get another player to kind of bolster. Hey, you're up, Brandon Beane, now that the Chiefs have gone and got DeAndre Hopkins. I'll go first. I don't think there's a need. I think the Buffalo Bills, granted it's against the Titans, but they have suffocated teams. Like when you look at their points against, defensively speaking, and I've actually got it right here. I mean, the Buffalo Bills points against per game are why did this not filter the way that it was supposed to filter? There it goes. As I'm looking at it, the Bills are what, in the top 10? So they're giving up 19.4 points a game. I mean, generally speaking, they've been holding their opposing teams to 10 points, basically is where it comes down to, other than outside of a couple different games. That defense has the ability to play well. The corners are good. The defensive line, you're getting a lot out of Carter. I think there's a lot to be said for what's happening there. Getting Von Miller helps, and if you can get Matt Milano back, I don't know that there's a need, and all that to say that. Like, I don't know that the Bills need to go get some. Agree or disagree?
See, I'm actually on the other side of it. I think that we do need to go get someone, because I know Von was playing well before the suspension, and I know we're praying and hoping that Matt comes back, and Matt is a version of what we saw before he was injured. My thing is this: I agree with you about what we see about the total points, right? But like, for instance, I feel like we were supposed to blow out the Titans, right? Like, I don't look at the Titans like, okay, they're supposed to score 25 against the Bills. I didn't expect them to. The bigger concern that I have is that in the first half, you had Tony Pollard starting to look like a young Derrick Henry in the first half. Like, he was going off. You look at when you play against guys like Derrick Henry, he went off. A-Chain didn't have the huge game, but he had a pretty doggone good game. That was the only positive that Miami had when we played them down in Miami. Yep. So I just, what my concern is, the first half, we start off very slow, it seems like, on both sides of the ball. We do make good adjustments in the second half, but we don't make good adjustments when the talent is there. So what I've seen is the 2 games that we've lost is because the talent was just, we were playing against teams where, the Texans are expected to be one of those teams that's there in the playoffs. The Ravens, damn sure, are one of those teams that's expected to be there in the playoffs. So if you can't, I don't know. It's one thing to make adjustments against the Titans. Yeah. It's another one to not be able to stop Derrick Henry, and that's my concern. I get it. We're 5-2. Yes, thank God. And it's a part of the schedule where after Seattle, I think we're going to hit an area where we should kind of have like a little bit of we should be able to skate through a couple games. We should.
The next 3 I did. So after the bounce back win against the Jets, I basically was like, the next 4 games are winnable. I mean, the Seahawks are probably the toughest game of the 4, but I think the next 4 games are winnable, to your point. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No. But so I'm saying I'm agreeing with everything you're saying, but the part that scares me is when we do have the games against those teams with good running back. We've looked bad against the run. I get what the final score says, and but it matters when you're looking forward to the season. You're looking down the line at December and January, and you're talking about playoffs. And we're gonna see if you think the Buffalo Bills are good enough to compete for a Super Bowl this year. Guess what? We're gonna have to see the Ravens again, like that. Like, this year, I through the AFC, I think the Super Bowl goes through Baltimore. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I'm on the wrong page. Yeah, so defensively speaking, the Buffalo Bills yards per game are probably 20, somewhere around the 20 range. They're giving up 132 yards on the ground, and obviously there's a huge anomaly there with the Ravens game. We're talking about, I mean, at this point, we're talking about, which is a great segue, great lead into, what has us most concerned. For you, that concern is, it sounds like, adjustments and the ability for the Bills to adjust. They talked about starting slow in a lot of the pressers today. And I don't know that it's as easy as maybe they sometimes make it sound to be. Oh, well, we just got to make sure that we have the right mindset and we're focused on our keys when we get started. Like, there's just a lot of that type of stuff. But it's refreshing and assuring to know that Bobby Babich, if you go back through, so as much as the points where we are giving a points, and this is, they said it today on the radio, and I don't remember what the numbers were. Second half points against the Bills have been like less than 10. Like, it's been incredibly, incredibly low once the defense has adjusted. Now, the concern is, for me, can that offense hang with them until the defense can adjust? Because there's been multiple times this year where they just come out flat, slow, tired, without the urgency that they had against the Jets, where they were facing one of the best defensive lines in football and were running downhill at them and basically just chewing them up on the ground, like destroying them. I think, for me, that's one of the biggest concerns I have is just the Bills in that imposing of your will situation. I don't think this is not a team that can just rest on their laurels of, we're going to do our thing. Because this is, if you and I have talked about this for years, the Buffalo Bills offense for the last 3-4 years and defense has been, we are who we are. We know who we are. We're going to do our thing. And then if we have to adjust to you, we will. And I don't know that the Bills can live in that space anymore, where it's like, yeah, we're good. Our team is better than yours. So we're just going to wait. We might take a punch in the face or two, but we're going to overcome it. And if we lose, it's not going to be that big of a deal because we're going to win 12 or 14 games anyway. I don't know that the Bills can live in that space, to your point. Like, you're talking about adjustments, and I'm kind of on the other, like, I'm almost in pregame, right? For me, it's literally about coming out with the right mentality and the right attitude. You got to come out and smash them in the face right now. There's no, yeah, it took us a little while to get, we were inefficient on first and second down, and I wasn't making very efficient passes on third down. So we were going 3 and out, and then they put 10 on us. And then it was like, oh, maybe we should wake up. It's a damn good thing it was the Titans.
Well, and that's exactly where I'm at with you. So I guess it is adjustments, but it's also, I think, when comparing to the top teams in the NFL, like the teams that I think are going to be there in January.
Yeah.
I get concerned about talent gap, and I get concerned about going up against a team that has a Derrick Henry in January in the cold. They don't want to tackle him right now. Like, I guarantee you they will not want to tackle him in January.
Right.
Dude. So I don't know. Like, that's my concern. I think, like you mentioned,
yeah.
the team has surprised us. I am pleasantly surprised by everything that we've seen. 5-2. If you would have told me that we would have lost our two, the two best wide receivers from last season, if you would have told me that defensively, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you would have told me all of these things that happened would have happened and we would have been at 5-2 going into Seattle, I would have taken it every single time.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, my concern is now, okay, with the way the AFC East looks, I know the Dolphins are talking all this crap, like, oh, we're back, bring the bros back together. Okay, whatever. You guys weren't going to go undefeated before Tua got injured. You're not going undefeated now. You might win some, but you're never going to win them all. Let's start there.
That is the most talent around Jordan Poyer that he's ever had. So that much.
Jeremy would never leave that one down. He will never.
That much we know. He's never been on a team this talented. Okay.
But when you throw all that together, it's just like, I get it. Everybody wants to talk about the AFC. I think that we pretty much have the AFC East won. Like, I don't think the Buffalo Bills are going to do what the Dolphins did last year. We're not going to go on a 5-game losing streak where we end up allowing somebody to come back in the division and win, especially not the damn Jets or the Dolphins. It's not happening. So I say that to say, yes, we're going to be the AFC East champions again. I'm talking about now playoffs. I'm talking about the conference. I get worried. I do. And look, the Chiefs are 6-0. We talked about how you feel like, and not just you, a bunch of folk feels like it doesn't move the needle for DeAndre Hopkins. Listen, they're 6-0 without him.
Yep.
And they just got, even if it's only marginally better, they just got better today. So that's a concern. The doggone Ravens look like just an unstoppable machine right now. Like I think the NFL should be happy that they lost the games that they did early, because I just think that they're on this unstoppable force right now. They figured out how to use both Lamar and Henry together, and that's scary. That's super scary.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Let's transition over to the injury report as we kind of take a look ahead at the Seattle Seahawks game this weekend. Josh Allen, left hand, still full participant. Terrell Bernard, ankle, pectoral, personal. So he was not at practice today per Sean McDermott for personal reasons. So there was no real designation on whether or not he would practice or not. Now, he got his ankle mashed in that football game, and I've got it. Dr. Brad in our Discord channel. Actually, I might not be able to find it. I don't even know. But he talked about, he used a bunch of medical words and what happened to him with his ankle. Like, I don't even know. I'm going to put my phone down. I'm not going to look for it. But that ankle, obviously clearly sprained. It looked like Dwayne Carter with the wrist was limited. I think he was in a red non-contact jersey. I don't know. Darrington Evans. DeMar Hamlin was limited. Matt Collins was limited. Taron Johnson with a forearm was limited. So as much as we get guys back, Jay Spence, like this list seems to like just find its way to be like in the double digits again. Taron Johnson still limited with his forearm. Daquan Jones did not participate. He had a vet rest day today. Dalton Kincaid was limited with a collarbone. Dawson Knox with his ankle did not participate. Quentin Morris, shoulder, full participant. Curtis Samuel left this football game with the pectoral injury, did not participate. Dwayne Smoot with a groin did not participate. Mitchell Trubisky, I don't know why he's on this list. Who cares? And then Dorian Williams, knee limited. So the list is long and distinguished, right? So when you look at this football game, the Seahawks are a team. Is it weird that as fans, we all kind of have those one or two teams that like worry us more than other teams? And like, there's times that like, I'm like, the Seahawks worry me. And then you're like, not me. And then you're like, well, this team worries me. And I'm like, not me. The Seahawks, for some reason, I don't know if it's Kenneth Walker. Clearly DK Metcalf, it doesn't look like he's going to play in this football game, which helps the Buffalo Bills. But Geno's slinging the football. Like that dude, it seems like if he's on, he can hurt you. Like he can put it on you. And there's an aspect of getting to him that's important, and not a lot of teams can. This when I look forward to this game, and I'll be there, it's got me a little, like, am I flying all the way out there to leave disappointed?
No, I'm with you. I think this would be one of the games that we agree on, because the way I see the Seahawks as one of the teams that can score the ball. Like they're one of the most explosive offenses in the league. You're going to have a game or two during the season where they don't score and it doesn't look right. But I promise you, he like that. Geno is like that now. And DK Metcalf, the guy that we didn't take, we took Cody Ford over in the second round the year that he was drafted. But he was right there. But he's like that. DK Metcalf is like that. And then you have a couple other receivers that's like that too. And listen, I just talked about how I'm not confident about the run game for our defense. Kenneth Walker III is like that. Like they have a lot of guys that can. And then if he's not healthy, how do you say? Is it Charbonnet or I always mess his name up. I apologize to him, but they have a good backfield. They have good receivers. Geno Smith has been accurate. He's not making a bunch of mistakes. The defense, they might not be great, but I tell you what, they keep the game close enough to where it gives Geno Smith a chance to win it in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Anytime that the other team has an opportunity to do that, it makes me nervous.
Yeah, so the Seahawks are number 1 in the league in passing offense. They are in the bottom 5 in rushing offense. However, Kenneth Walker was hurt for a couple of weeks. But they're averaging 94 yards per game. The Buffalo Bills, defensively speaking, middle of the pack, right? As far as that goes, for all intents and purposes, they can suffocate when they need to. But I think at the end of the day, where the bonus, the leg up is the Bills offensively against their defense versus their offense versus our defense. It's funny the amount of times we've been doing this show, bro, like for 4 years now, and the amount of times we're like, oh, I think this is going to be a shootout. Oh, I think this one's going to be a low scoring game, and it seems like we're never right. Maybe we should just go with the lines. Whatever Vegas says is probably right about where it's going to be. So if like whatever the under over is, then you kind of determine from there, like, what is it going to be, lopsided or is it going to be even? But they just make me, this is just a game, that stadium in noise. I'll say this about this game. It seems like the biggest trouble the Buffalo Bills have had in 2024 that has led to what we've seen and the surprises we've seen in the 2 losses has been crowd noise. The Buffalo Bills, it seems like in the 2 games where there was extreme crowd noise, the Baltimore Ravens game and the Texans game. They went into that game limping, afraid of what the crowd noise was going to do to them potentially offensively. And they let it affect them, I think, especially early in both of those games, if not the entire games. And they're going to have this same exact, they're going to need to get over that mental hurdle before they even get there. They better fly that 4.5-hour trip with like the plane at like 135 decibels inside the fuselage of the end of the plane, because it's going to be loud in that state. That's one of the things I'm looking most forward to, right? Is because I've been to Kansas City, I've been to stadiums that are loud. I can't wait to go to this one to hear how loud their crowd really is. But they've got some mental hurdles to jump, and I think the crowd is one of those mental hurdles.
See, that's an interesting take. I haven't even thought of that, because the games that I look at that the Bills lost, I think it came down to talent.
Talent was a big part of it, but even offensively speaking, like, and this is where there was back and forth with other content creators about, like, well, they completely got out of their motion stuff that they had done that was so successful in weeks 1 through 3. And then they were like, oh, actually they motioned only 10% less. And it's like, yeah, but the motions weren't the same, right? The types of motions they were doing, because they couldn't hear, they were on a, they're on a no snap count thing, like a silent snap count. So they dumbed down basically their offense, and there was some motion, but it wasn't like it was. They weren't. If you remember, Dan Orlovsky, by week 3, end of week 3, Dan Orlovsky was basically saying they have taken simple, effective plays that they're very good at and made them look complex and difficult before snap, pre-snap, which is like giving them an advantage over defenses. And then they go to the Ravens and they don't do any of it. And then it's just a simple offense. And then they went to the Texans and the same thing. It was just a simple offense. And the defenses were like, I know what this is. I know exactly what you're about to do. And I just, that's probably the biggest concern that I have going into this football game, is just the crowd noise, because the Bills don't seem like they're this year so far ready to handle it. But I don't think that even came up in a press conference question today, like crowd noise and what they were going to do or how they were going to combat it based off of what they've done already this season. If I'm wrong.
I just think it's an interesting take. Like I said, for me, it's the first that I'm hearing somebody have that opinion. So, I mean, I'll go back and watch it and kind of look at the games from that perspective, because honest to God, that didn't cross my mind. For me, the thing that's concerning is what I've been talking about. I think the Seahawks are one of those teams that when you look at them, you look at them as the Seahawks and you just don't think that they're probably one of the top talented teams. But then when you break down their roster and you realize just how talented they are, it makes me nervous. They can score the ball. And I think, again, what you said about, just like the adjustments being made in the second half, we do. Yeah, but that wasn't the case against the Ravens. It was the case against the Texans. They didn't score much in the second half, but look, I don't know. I just think that's my concern. I think the top teams with the top talent, when the Buffalo Bills, I want to see how the defense looks 1 through 4 against them. I don't want to see them make an adjustment into the fourth quarter and all of a sudden, I want to see them come out, have a good game plan. Go ahead. Sarah said she didn't think Houston was loud. I didn't either.
Yeah, well, for this point, Sarah was there, right? I didn't realize. I think I knew you were there, but Sarah was there, so she was. And it's not a matter of whether or not it was loud. The Bills were in a silent. They actually talked about it in the post-game press conference that they were in a silent snap count, which is a big part of why they weren't doing. Because somebody asked why they weren't, again, second game, not doing a lot of the motion stuff they had done previously, and they said, well, we were in a silent snap count, so it prevented us from being able to run our offense. When you talk about them playing in Miami, it's largely a home crowd. Even in New York, in New Jersey, they weren't running a quiet snap count, or there was a cadence there, and they were doing some different things. Mm-hmm. So it's more about how they prepared and went into it.
I got you. No, that's a good perspective.
I call it dumbing it down, and that is not the right phrase. And every football player on the planet, specifically John and Jerry, get mad at me when I say that, because it's not dumbing it down. It's just making it more palatable for the environment. And I also have learned from both of those guys as well that it's not a situation, because me, the fan, is like, well, why don't they just start doing the stuff that they did before? And John has always been like, it doesn't work that way. Like, you prepare what you prepare. And yes, you can do some minor adjustments and fix some things, but there's no going back to like week 3's game plan. All right, everybody, scrap what we've done for the last 2 weeks or last week or what we've learned. We're going back to week 3. He's like, that just doesn't work. You can't do that. Even though for you and me, it's like, seems like that'd be simple.
Well, but see, here's the thing. This is what I think makes a good offensive coordinator. Like, so you might not be able to go back and just completely take the game plan and do it. But as a good offensive coordinator, your job is to disguise some of the things that worked, so that way you're able to redo them, maybe with a different look. But when those motions that you talked about disappear, or when you see confidence in certain players, you don't see certain plays working. You don't see guys getting open. You don't see us even trying certain things that worked early on in the season.
Right.
That's why, like, now I'm just gonna pull one out the air. A couple years ago, matter of fact, you remember the first playoff game against the Texans? One of my one of the plays that I loved so much, it was like, I don't know what the official play call is, what it is, but it's like a Josh Allen sweep to the right side, and
Quarterback
Mitch
sweep.
Morse
It's
and
quarterback sweep.
Dion ran out in front of them, and they had like a wall. And then obviously we had some pretty decent blocking wide receivers at the time.
Dawson Knox missed his block, or Josh Allen would still be running on the play you're talking
And literally, he ran as far as he could, really, but then he missed that block, and he would have kept.
Right, like, and he got destroyed. He got buried into the ground because Dawson Knox missed his block. I know exactly the play you're talking about, that they haven't run in forever.
I need
You're
more.
right.
Like,
Right.
why can't we? And I get it. That's Dayball. Like, so I'm saying that as an example to say those are the type of plays that, look, we know it works. That's who Josh Allen is. He can take a play like that, and it becomes one of the most dangerous plays in your playbook. Yeah. Why haven't we seen it for 2 seasons?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that we don't know. We need the train horns back, bro. It's third down. Like, we need the train.
I got to send it to you because you can't.
No, I fixed it. I gave you your admin privileges back.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Actually, after last week's show, when Jerry O was like, yeah, Spence doesn't, and I was like, oh, that's right, I changed it because I was trying to get us back down to 4 users to save money, and it's like it didn't work. So yeah, so you have them now, so you can, but we got to get the train horns, but we got to get us out of here because it's getting late. And this has been we always have good conversations, but I looked up and I was like, 35 minutes. I was like, how did we get here? Because we've just been having a good conversation, good football talk. So
I do want to say this real quick. I know I normally don't talk about anything like this. Listen, Sir Davis is okay, and I know everybody loves these new whiskeys and stuff. I got to go back to Crown. It's just too much. I tried to did one before it's too much. I got to go back to Crown.
I got to go back to Crown.
Go back.
That's funny. So why don't you give us your stat line for Josh Allen and your score prediction for this game all in one, and then I'll do mine, and then I'll get us out of here.
I think this one is going to be one of those games where, you're going to see Josh do some more running than we kind of want. I know we like to see him run. I think he's going to run more than we want, though. I think you're going to see probably like 8 or 9 attempts where maybe plays break down and kind of does some things. I'm going to go passing, upper 100s, like 180.
Wow.
I don't think it's going to, again, you and I always, it is going to be one of those games, dude. Both teams, high offense. I think it's going to be one of those games where like maybe 21-17 is going to be one of those games that's annoying for us as Bills fans. I think we come out with the win.
Be better.
But I would not be shocked if DK Metcalf did some incredible. Well, I think he's injured, though. I think DK is
not
questionable.
Playing. Yeah, he's not supposed to. He's week to week. So he might play, but I don't think he's going to.
Yeah, for my fantasy, I hope that he does. For the sake of the Bills, I hope that he doesn't.
Same. Final score? Oh, you said 21-17. I've got Josh Allen probably in that 265 to 275 passing yards, probably 2 touchdowns, maybe 1 on the ground. And similar situation. I don't think it's going to be a super high scoring game. What concerns me most is just the Bills. What are they going to look like going into this game, both from a starting slow standpoint and a crowd noise standpoint? Are they going to impose their will on them, or are they not going to impose their will on them? So that's what it comes down to for me. So I'm just looking forward to a good game and a good time with my wife in Seattle. So I've never been to Seattle. She has, so she's already got like a list of all the places we got to stop and see. I guess we're going to take a ferry boat ride a couple times, fish market, the gum thing where they put all the gums from the movie 10 Things I Hate About You. So she's already got a list of all the places we're going on Saturday. So that should be fun. But any final comments before I get us out of here, brother?
No, man. If everybody has free evening tonight, make sure you stick around and join us on the Rumblings Network. Sterling and I actually are going to have Jeremy Poyer on because I want to talk about how PFF graded Jordan Poyer, like I think second to last or third to last safety in the NFL this season. And then I want to obviously, I talk about how bad Gabe is. He's like bottom 5. And then I think Trey breaks my heart. Trey White is low too. So we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about Watkins getting injured and just the drama around how people tried to make him a righteous being. And then Tua. We're going to talk about some Tua. So, yeah, join us on the Chop Up. And, I always bring the drama there. So
you've got my take on Deshaun Watson as far as if there was a measure of remorse and ownership, I feel like there would have been a world of forgiveness there for him. But he basically didn't do any of that. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned into the Hump Day Hotline on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe. Tomorrow, don't miss the Big O show, 8 o'clock live. Jerry Strauss is going to bring you a preview for the Seahawks and Bills game. And then after this game on Sunday night, the Overreaction post-game show, the aftermath on Monday with yours truly. That's my mom. And and then Monday night off tackle with John Fina. Tuesday, what do we got? I think we've got Alex Bresky on the beat next week. But for me, for Jay Spence the King, I got to find my outro video. For John, for Jerry, for all of us here at Overreaction, we appreciate you guys. We love you. We'll talk to you soon. Go Bills. Hump that like and subscribe. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.